What's up, guys? So today we're going to be talking about K9 Fiendsmith, and I'll go ahead and just start right away and say I don't think this deck is very good. At least not now. I think when Nori comes out after Dune, I think this deck will get considerably better. I don't think the synergies are there. The only synergies that really happen is that K9 can get a lot of bodies, which you can convert into Fiendsmith. Yeah. Other than that, there's really no good normal summon. Your best normal summon and really your only normal summon is going to be Lacrima, and that's just not enough. The deck is kind of just really dependent on them playing hand traps. Because if they hand trap you, you can push a lot farther. Whereas like something like VS K9, you have your whole VS engine to play. The Fiendsmith engine is just not complete enough to warrant. But like I said, I think after Nori comes out, I think this deck will get much better. But let's jump into the deck profile. So this deck plays a lot of hand traps. You play a lot of non-engine. So we're starting with 2 Nibs. Nib is really a hit or miss in this format. It's really good against Yummy. Not great against K9 decks unless you can pair it with something. But Imperm Nib, or anything like that, or even just using a Nib to bait out a Ripper negate so it can't be used on your turn isn't the worst thing. But yeah, so we're playing 2 Nib, 2 Engraver. I don't play 3 just because I don't want to brick on it. It's kind of one of those cards you want to see one of, but you want to have another one just for follow-up. Playing the 1 Lupus. You could argue that maybe the 2nd Lupus is needed. There was a couple times where I felt I wish I had it, but it can be a little bricky. We're playing the 3 Azuna. One of the best cards in the deck. It's turn 0 plays. I think by now everyone kind of knows how great this card is. We're playing 3 Jokul. 3 Jokul is your best starter in this entire deck. Jokul plus another level 5 is the best combo in this deck, and I think that's going to be how most decks that play K9 are going to be. We play 2 Lantern. Lantern's great. It doesn't feel like a brick at all. It revives. It's a monster reborn, so it helps in the grind game. So that's why it's nice having 2. And you can search your quick play spell or your Case of K9 to extend. So yeah, I really like this card at 2. We're playing 3 Lacrima. Like I said, this is your really only normal summon in the deck, and it's not a great one. But it can bait out hand traps. It can bait out interaction. So we played at 3 just because, like I said, it's our only real normal summon. Then we have 3 Fua, 3 Perulia. Draw power is going to go a long way in this deck, and it forces your opponent to end on half boards. This deck cannot break full boards, but going into half boards, it does a good job. So a lot of times these are just kind of incentive for your opponent to not play. Then we have the 3 Ash Blossom. Going to be a lot for the Charmies because this deck loses very hard to the Charmies. But yeah, so 3 Ash Blossom. It's great non-engine too. It's not the strongest, but you can get some good 1-for-1s. Or sometimes you can, stop like a key choke point. Then we got the 1 Lurie. We're playing 2 Chaotic Elements. This card is crazy. I really like this card. This one searches a Pyro Dark or Aqua Dark. So that's going to be your Jokul and your Lantern. And then if you have 3 or more in the graveyard, you get a non-target pop. And then you can banish this card to take control of a Light or Dark Pyro Aqua. So if you're against Ryziel, you can just steal someone's Detonator with this card, which is pretty cool. But I think the non-target pop is like the best part of this card. It's a Roto with a pop. It's great. After that, we're playing the 2 Tract. Play 2 because it's a decent starter. And you don't want to draw it with an Engraver and then not be able to get rid of your Engraver without having to search the Paradise. Because you don't really have any discard outlets in this deck. So if you draw the Paradise, you're kind of stuck with it. So that's why I like to play the 2 Tract. We're playing the 3 Book of Eclipse. This is going to be great against VSK9 if you lose the dice roll. It's great against Yummy because it flips their monsters face down so the Link cannot synchro. And it's a good going first or second card. Going first is kind of more of like a Hail Mary after you set it, because then you're going to give your opponent a lot of draws. But if you need to try to steal the turn back, it's a pretty good card. This could also be droplets, but I've just decided that this was going to be the more impactful card, just because I don't want to have to discard a lot of cards. We have the one rank up K9 X-Force release. This is going to go from your Ripper into your Werewolf to get you a non-target pop, and then a hand rip off of Werewolf. We have the case for K9, search card, Rhoda for any K9 monster. So it's great, and then it boosts your monsters by 900 if they activate or boost your K9 monsters by 900 if they activate a monster effect in the graveyard or in the hand. And that is also stackable. So if you have both of these in play, you're getting an 1800 boost. So sometimes that can just kind of help you beat stuff down. We're playing the one Paradise. It's still a brick, but it's great. It's great interaction. Yeah, if you're playing the Fiendsmith engine, you kind of have to play this. But it's like really the only main brick in this deck. And then we're playing the 3 Imperm. Imperm's not great. It's kind of more of like a board breaker at this point. So like against Yummy, you can use it to hit the Snatchy in the draw phase because it can't quick synchro in the draw phase or the standby phase. So it's pretty good. Like I said, this deck just runs so much non-engine that it feels right to put it in there. And they're playing the Fiendsmith package. So we have the one Desiree for the negates. We have the one Necroquip paired with the High Wave King Caesar to get into your Caesar to get the two summon negates. And then we have the Agnum Day to try to push for game. And it can also make Desiree a board breaker. We have the Sequence to fuse. We have the Moon to get into your Fiendsmith combo. And then we have the one Requiem. After that, we have our K9 package. So we have our Ripper and we have our Werewolf. You could argue that maybe you should play Ripper at 2. For this build, I'm just playing it at 1 so that way I can run the Nash Knight package. But if you do not want to run the full Nash Knight package, you could slip in the second Ripper. And then, like I said, we're running the Nash Knight package. So 1 Nash Knight, 1 CXZ's Nash Knight to the rank up, the 104 Masquerade to put under the Nash Knight, and then the C104 Umbra Horror Masquerade. This card's crazy. Hand rip, monster negate, and then halves the life points. It's one of those cards though that's like really easy to play around. It sounds a lot more impactful than it actually is, and a lot of times I don't even go into it. I just sit on the Nash Knight because removing the body is more important. But if your opponent interacts with you a lot on your turn, they only have like 1 or 2 cards left in hand, then I'll choose to go into this, or if I know what the matchup is. But yeah, like I said, a lot of times with Nash Knight, just removing the body is better. And then we have the one Valon to go into on the opponent's turn if we've already gone through our Nash Knight, and this is just a quick effect, Book of Moon, and then it will when it leaves the field, you can pop a face down set card, spell, trap, or monster. And then after that, last card, we're just playing the one SP Little Knight. Main reason to play this is to hit the minion, to hit the Yummy minion, because once that card's gone, Yummy can't really do anything. So it's really great. Definitely recommend playing it in almost every deck at this point, just to out the minion. Side deck, it's just crammed full of breakers. You can build it however you want, but we're playing the 3 Lancia for the Malice Hate, the 3 Dark Ruler to use against VSK9 or to use against Yummy, the Feather Duster, wreck back row, get rid of the VS trap, get rid of the Yummy Surprise, get rid of the Draco Tail cards. The only bad thing is that they have the trap card that can negate this, but it still baits it out. So, it's a 1-for-1, not the worst thing in the world. They're playing the 1 Raigeki. Board wipes are really good right now against, like I said, against Yummy or against VSK9. There's not really much they can do about it. After that, we're playing the 3 Thrust, 2 Search. Our Dark Rulers are Feather Duster or our Raigeki, or 2 Search the D-Barrier to call Synchro against Yummy, or I guess you could call it Z's against VSK9, but you know that's not great since you play Z's too. But if you end on nothing and your Thrust is live, you can go in the D-Barrier, call it, and maybe you can win back the turn. And then after that, we're just playing the 3 Droplet. Droplet paired with a Charmy is ridiculous. Just getting all that fodder to use. It's basically just a free full board negate. But yeah, so that's the deck list. And then now we'll just jump into some combos. All right, first combo is going to be just Jokel with another level 5. So we'll go Jokel effect, summon itself out in the level 5. Jokel search Lantern, overlay into Ripper. Ripper search Case of Canine. Case of Canine effect, 2 searches Zuna, and then Lantern's Reborn itself, and Jokel. Then we'll search the rank up, and then we'll go Moon into Requiem into Lacrima, Lacrima dump Engraver, Requiem equip go into a Necroquip, and then Engraver overlay into a Caesar. So now we're sitting on a Ripper negate, 2 summon negates with Caesar, and then a rank up and a non-target destruction with Werewolf. That's also a hand rip, and then we have a Zuna in our hand for follow-up or for the opponent's turn to go into a Nash Knight or a Valon. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disruptions. So 1 disruption per card in their hand. So that's just our standard combo with just Jokel. And like I said, Jokel is going to be your best starter. All right, so this is our combo with Jokel plus Lacrima. And like I said, Lacrima is our best normal summon. So we'll go Jokel, summon Jokel, search Lantern, overlay into Ripper. So now we're nib proof. Search Case of Canine. Case of Canine searches Zuna, and then Lantern, bring back the Jokel. Now we'll go Lantern, search the rank up, and then we'll overlay into a Nash Knight. And then we can either keep the Nash Knight or rank up into the C104 Humble Horror Masquerade. With normal Lacrima, dump Engraver, Requiem, bring out another Lacrima, equip the Requiem, overlay into a Necroquip, and then bring back the Engraver to rank up into a Caesar. So we're sitting on a Ripper negate from hand or field, for hand or graveyard, double summon negates with Caesar, on field negate, hand rip, and then half the life points with Masquerade. We have the rank up spell to pop a card and then rip a card and banish it to the end phase with the Werewolf, and then we have a Zuna for a follow-up, or a Zuna on their turn to summon out and then go into a Valon to quick effect Book of Moon, a card on their field. So with this, we have 1 negate with the Ripper, 2 negate, 2 more negates with the Caesar, so that's 3, 4 with the Umbra Horror Masquerade, 5 with the rank up, and then 6 with the Masquerade, and then 7 with the Zuna dump Lupus into the Valon. So 7 interruptions. If we open Jokel plus a level 5, and then a Lacrima, or it could be a Tract or an Engraver. So those are going to be our combos. Let's jump into some games so we can see how this deck performs. All right, let's jump into these games. So first game, I'm going against Yummy. Open up pretty good. Open up 2 hand traps. Imperm's usually not great against Yummy, but it seems like he bricked this game. So I'm assuming he probably has a lot of hand traps, or he's holding a bunch of board breakers, because I know Yummy usually plays board breakers. So I start off the track, bring out Lurie, go into Requiem, and he's thinking for a second, and this is going to bait out the first hand trap, which is Ash Blossom. So no problem. Normal Lacrima. Lacrima's the best normal summon in this deck. It's really our only normal summon. So I'm feeling alright, but then he hits it with a Effect Veiler. So he's sitting on 1 card in hand, 1 card on the field. I go Case of Canine, grab a Zuna, and he has the Ogre for the Azuna. which I think was a little early, honestly, but you know, it ended up working out. So I just go into the biggest bodies I can. We got Lupus on field at 32 and Necroquip at 2K. We beat over the card he had on field, the Snatchy, and then we just kind of put him on top deck. We have Lacrima into Requiem, so that kind of checks a lot. So he goes Hornet Drones. He imperms the Lacrima, so I don't get the Paradise, which is fine because we're sitting on an imperm. We just imperm the Kagari and then he scoops. So we go side. I'm just trying to take out, you know, some of the duplicates, and you know, some of the stuff that I feel like is not as necessary in this matchup, just to put in breakers, because Yummy loses super hard to breakers. Book of Eclipse, Dark Ruler, Raigeki, Lightning Storm, all those cards are super good against Yummy. As long as they don't get to the Herald, they're usually pretty good. And a lot of times you can just bait the Herald out. It's just a single negate, you know. But a lot of times Yummy players will sit on it just because they do have so much interaction on field with all the tag outs. So I drew Nib, and you know, Nib's super good in this situation. And sometimes Nib is even really good on your own turn because Yummy summons so many times on your own turn. So opening double Nib is really not that bad. So a lot of times you can just kind of bait him out on your own turn and then just nib him on your own turn. And that kind of cooks any follow-up they have. But I dropped Nib here. My main goal is to try to get him to burn the Surprise. Surprise is like one of the most powerful cards in this deck in Yummy. So if I can get him to burn it, a lot of people are only on 1 too. So just getting him to burn him is good. Dark Ruler, he solemns it, so he just pays half his life points. So we go track, and now my only goal is to get him to use a monster effect. That way I can just thrust into a Raigeki and board clear him. So he Gale Spells, there's my monster effect. I thrust into Raigeki, and then we clear the field. He flipped my Nib down for some reason. It was summoned last turn, so it doesn't really do anything. I summon on Engraver. I'm just trying to get some big bodies on field. I have Case of K9 to just go into Zuna, so which is fine. He didn't really activate any monster effects though, so it's like, you know, I don't know if I would have scooped in that situation, but I guess he had no follow-up. So next game, I won the dice roll. And this game kind of, it's a super grind game. That's why I put it in here. You can kind of see how grindy this deck can get. But it's against Dracotail, and Dracotail K9, and Dracotail is super grindy. I think it's kind of slept on. But yeah, so he goes to Zuna, dumps the Lupus. I Book of Eclipse, so I don't have to worry about it. So he just has a Lupus sitting there. Now he's activated monster effects in hand, so we can just do K9 things. And you'll see later on, this match kind of makes me mad. But you'll see, the guy ends up slow playing me into time when he was just kind of done for. But that's fine. And, you know, I wouldn't have won anyway. It would have just ended in a draw. So it's not a big deal. Like I said, I'm just sharing this just so we can see how grindy this deck can get. So we go Nash Knight. We suck up his Lupus, or he goes into Typhon for some reason, but we suck up the Typhon. I guess maybe to get his Lupus back in graveyard, so I'm not holding it captive. And then we go Engraver, going to Requiem, and then I don't have the extra body for going into a Desiree just because I had to flip my Azuna face down, so I just try to clear his Azuna so he's not sitting on it. And like I said, at this point I don't really know what I'm against. So I'm thinking that Ripper with the rank up spell, and then 104 Humble Horror Masquerade will be good enough against 2 cards. But he goes Key 2 Dracotail. And this deck is super good at breaking boards. So I'm not feeling great. Just because this guy, I can't remember, it was Athleon, something like that, can just kind of break boards on his own. And then, you know, just setting up 1 fusion just gives them so much follow-up and so many pushes. So he chains it, so one of the effects happens in the graveyard, so I just go ahead and negate it. And then we just rank up into the werewolf to pop the Athleon. I think that's his name, something like that. So now we're just sitting on an Umbral Horror Masquerade, and then we can rank up with Lupus. But he ogres it, so you know it's a little unfortunate. I didn't really realize how good ogre is in this format, but it's pretty good. It does a lot. Whether it's hitting like Vanquish All Start or the Lupus or you know Yummy Snatchy or you know things like that, or even the minion so they don't get the revive. So I might think about putting ogre in at some point, but yep, so he just goes battle phase. He just clears my board. He didn't want to activate anything while I had the C104 on field, which I completely agree with. So I'm just sitting on a Azuna and a case of K9, and with Fiendsmith follow-up. So I know he's sitting on one of the traps, so I just bring out the Engraver. He goes the trap, I ash it, then we go into a Requiem, or then we equip the Requiem, excuse me. We send the Malulu, and then we just go case of K9, go Lantern, bring back the Jokul, search Azuna, and then I'm kind of just looking at my extra deck, what I have here. I'm debating on what the right play is on what bodies I want to use to go into the Fiendsmith combo. And again, I don't know if this is right, but I'm just trying to get into a Desiree. And then we go into the Agnum Day, and then we use Desiree's effect to send the fusion to the graveyard, bring back the Desiree, bring out... Oh no, he doesn't have 2 cards in hand, so we can't bring out the Azuna. So we just go straight to battle phase. So we're not sitting on a ton. But his Lupus is banished, so that's good. Kind of cuts down his follow-up. And he's sitting on 1 card and then 1 card top deck. So I think I'm in a pretty decent position right now. But then he top decks a Lucius. I negate it, and then he has the fusion spell, the Search and Fuse. So that kind of puts him right back in this game. You know, I'm not sitting on much. I burned my Desiree like immediately. So he's doing his thing. I have Azuna in hand, but it's kind of dead at this point, other than just being a big body, because they banished the Lupus. And I guess that's the, you know, maybe a reason to play the second Lupus when you're going for more of like a pure build. But so I just let him combo off. He tries to go to battle phase here in just a second. He goes into Spirit Dragon and then a Seals, which I'm not exactly sure why. But then he activates the Rahu. Is it Kitu or Rahu? One of them. He fuses. And then he tries to go to battle. I just bring out the Azuna because he's not really sitting on any interaction, and she's a big body. And then he goes the trap to put back my Desiree and draw a card. I drew Chaotic Elements, and a lot of people I don't think realize that this card can pop. So I go Chaotic Elements to search. He chains the Seals. He bounced the Azuna back to my hand, which again I don't know why he would do that. It just feels like a waste. But we Chaotic Element, pop his fusion, the fusion that can pop, and then he brings out the Pan. So again, I'm not sitting on too much here. I go Jokul, summon out himself and Azuna, and then he fuses into another one of the big boys that can bounce, and he bounces my Jokul, and then pops the Azuna. So then I just scoop it up. I don't have enough gas left. So then we go into game 2, and I'm going first. I start out with the Chaotic Elements, search the Jokul, Jokul, show Jokul. My main goal here is just to make myself nib-proof. So we search the Lantern, go into the Ripper, and then we Ripper effect, search case of K9, then we add the Azuna because we already have the Lantern. Lantern, bring back the Jokel. And then Jokel effect to search the rank up. Since he hasn't activated anything, I couldn't set it, which is not a big deal. Sometimes it's nice to have in hand just to dodge an in-perm. We go Desiree effect, search the tracked, grab Lurie, bring itself back, and then we just run into the Fiendsmith combo with Requiem into Lacrima, dump Engraver, and then Engraver effect. And then I'm debating here whether I want to go into a Caesar or a Desiree, and I just decided to go into the Desiree, which I don't know if that was the right play. I think in hindsight it was the wrong play, but it is what it is. He goes Lupus effect, I just suck it up, and then he chains Nib, I chain the Azuna, and then we just bring out the Desiree. And then now I'm kind of thinking, oh man, I should have went the Caesar because now my my Ripper negate is used up. So in hindsight, maybe not the right play. And then I mess up coming up here too. I go Agnum Day, bring back Desiree, and I forget to equip the sequence so the Desiree can be targeted. It's not like a giant thing, but it's still not great. So I pass turn. I'm sitting on negates with Desiree and the rank up, and then the suck up. And then so I go to negate with Desiree. He has another Ogre, and like I said, I guess Ogre is pretty good right now. But that takes care of the Desiree negate. So again, I'm not sitting on too much. He goes into Athleon, or however you say it, which can almost just kind of break this board at this point with all the fusion materials he sent. But yeah, so the Lucius is setting a spell trap, and then he has the Malulu. So I just go ahead. I don't know. He's going to destroy one, so I just go ahead and sec up the Athleon. And then he negates the... sorry, not destroy, but he's going to negate... So he negates the Nash Knight, and then we rank up into the Werewolf off of him activating, or him summoning Lucius. He searches Femina. Oh no, he searches his Femina, and then he activates Azuna. I use the Werewolf to banish the Azuna. So he's sitting on the two traps, and the two traps are pretty strong. Or I think one of them might be a Rahu actually. I can't quite remember. But I go ahead and just dump Azuna, or activate Azuna, dump the Lupus, use Lupus's effect. And then I'm debating if I want to rank up here. I decide not to. And then he goes in phase, he gets his Azuna back. And then I have a Nib and a Lacrima. So I'm thinking of the best plays here. Like I said, he has the trap for the attack position monster to bounce it. So I go into a Moon, kind of trying to bait it. Hoping he would use it, and he does. And then I just summon the Lacrima effect. Dump the Engraver. And like I said, we're in like a super grindy game here. So I'm thinking on the best way to do this. So I go Engraver effect, and it sucks because my Desiree and my sequence are both in the graveyard. So it makes it a little harder to get anything done. So he goes into he uses the Azuna, summon the Lupus, and then I just use Engraver effect, trying to force it. I'm thinking here for a second. I try to push battle phase here to force it. And then he goes into the Valion. He books a card. He books the Lacrima. So then I just Desiree effect, and then I forget that it has the Lupus underneath, so it can't be targeted. So that was a big misplay on my part. And then that let him bring back the Athleon. So a lot of misplays on my part. So then I go into Requiem. Requiem equipped to Engraver to get the attack boost. And then he goes Femina, something like that, Diffuse. And he banishes one of his Athleon. I gotta look that name up. But he banishes one just because it left the field. And then he tries to nib. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, it is what it is at this point. I'm sitting on a nib too, so I feel okay. So I just pass turn. And like I said, I'm sitting on a giant nib token and a nib in hand. And then Lacrima into Requiem to dump Paradise. So I bring the Requiem back out. He goes key 2 to fuse, or to search and fuse. And he goes for 3. So then he does his chain links. And then I go Lacrima effect to dump the trap card. And then, like I said, I'm just sitting on a nib in hand, so I'm feeling okay. So I go Paradise. I dump the Desiree because he brought back one of his big bodies, so I just try to get it banished. Kind of my main goal right now is just to try to outgrind him and get his main fusion to get all 3 banished. So then I top deck Chaotic Elements, which is a really great top deck here because it's live to pop right now. So I go I go Engraver, and then Requiem to equip to Engraver. Engraver effect to send the fusion. That way, next time it comes back, it will get banished, and then that would be all 3 banished. We go Chaotic Elements. We pop his trap card, and then we go Lantern. And this is where he starts slow playing me. So he fuses here. He doesn't have any more of the big guy. That he brings him back, and he pops my Jokul, which I don't know. I don't know if that was the right play, because we just go Lantern here. We go Case of Canine, and then we just add the Azuna, and then my Lupus is banished. So I'm just kind of sitting on some big bodies here, and I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. He's slow playing me right now. If you look at the top, his time is going down. He doesn't have any effects here other than a Lupus in the graveyard, but he kept taking forever on every play because we were coming up on time. There was like a minute or 2 left. I think it was like 3 minutes, and then every time I did any interaction, he's just sitting there waiting on time. Because from here, I go into Agnum Day, I send his other fusion, it's all 3 banished. So there goes his follow-up. I bring back Desiree, I equip the sequence, I go battle phase, and then I just take a giant chunk out of his life points, and he's really not sitting on anything. But he just slow played me into time, which is fine. It is what it is. But yeah, so that's my games with this deck. I don't think this deck is very good. Like I said earlier, not until Nori comes out do I think this deck is playable. It doesn't have a good enough normal summon. But it is extremely grindy. But yeah. So thanks for watching.